Yeah, I love OTs. We've had some amazing OTs on staff. There's a little bit of a mindset shift, and OT seems like as a profession, I always say like PT as a profession, good or bad, has just spread out across so many different categories. OT has done the same, stepping into mental health, stepping into all of these other areas that I don't even know about. But talking about that, the reason why I bring it up is because today we've got a list of topics. I'm going to read a couple. We're going to talk about, Dave had an interesting conversation where a physical therapist talked about the appeal of working with a different clientele. You know, we want to be at the highest level we can, and we're going to talk about how we can leverage your clients, your caseload to attract the best clinicians. We'll talk about the difference and the comparison between a PTA model, which is what I use in the clinic. I was just at the doctor's office with my son. I don't care that a medical assistant was the one doing the weight and the blood pressure and all that other stuff. We'll talk about plans for January, deductibles reset. If you're in an insurance-based practice, there's going to be some strategy that should have happened like 3 months ago to plan for January. And if you guys can hear it in the background, that ticking, the shockwave machine is going. I'm happy to share a little bit about how that rollout has been. But let's start with you, Dave. So what's new? What's going on? How have you been?
All is well. Like I said, last week, onboarded a new therapist a week ago, last Thursday, and just trying to completely convey expectations to that new therapist. And that includes like a lot of touch points, a lot of either in person or Zoom or phone call or text, because I'm trying to take a caseload from my other therapist who just went away, and he's going to do a lot of coverage. This therapist is also going to start covering some of my current or previous clients. And so it's a lot of touch points with our style of scheduling and booking and all that. Like, it's a lot of communication. I'm saying, like, here's the diagnosis, here's the presentation, here's the patient's potential PT goals. You're going to figure out the goals when you do the evaluation. But from what we're hearing from the point of contact, the mother, the son, the patient, client themselves, it's a lot of touch points. There's a lot of communication. So just really trying to over communicate as much as possible. And even if it's late at night, 9, 10, 11 p.m., I don't want to be blowing up their phone with text messages, right? So I'm sending out emails. So like 2 nights ago, I sent that therapist like 4 separate emails with 4 different topics. And I said, hey, I know this is going to be like a lot. This is going to feel like a tidal wave or maybe multiple waves of a lot going on. I'm here to support you. The more that I send you stuff and all that, I'm trying to make it easier for you. I think every business owner out there should be doing that, trying to make it easier for their team.
What are you using anything like, we don't use any internal communications per se. We have text, we have email. But I know there are other people that have, app, the different things that they use. Are you doing anything like that? Actually, I lied. One thing we do have is inside the EMR, we have a note, feature that's not the documentation, but it allows us to track kind of notes and make little comments and say things about the patient that's not part of the medical record, but is still HIPAA compliant and protected. What are you doing for that kind of communication?
Yeah, there's a little note section inside of our EMR for that exactly. Like it could be like the non-medical things like patient preference or, patient prefers to use their couch and definitely not their bedroom, right? Because we're doing home visits, whatever it is. That's in there as well. But for the main part of the communication, we've considered using Slack in the past, but it's still just traditional text message and email. So that's still working well. And, eventually, like if that breaks or if there's issues or whatever, we'll consider Slack or something else like that. The good thing about Slack, I think, is you can have everything kind of centralized. You can have, one to many messages. Like for me, let's just say it was going to snow 10 inches tomorrow, right? And I would just say like, hey, heads up, like it's probably going to snow 10 inches and some of the subways that are above ground, they might close or take the day off, whatever. I could send that to everyone all at once. Then there's one-to-one messaging. And if someone gets dismissed, exited, I fire them or they leave or whatever, then it's easy to just remove them off the Slack channel compared to if you have all these emails and texts, like that information is always going to stay on their side in perpetuity. So there's pros and cons, of course. And then with Slack, like enterprise, even a small enterprise level, you have to pay for. And then the texting and the communication, email right now, there's no extra cost. So there's pros and cons of both.
Let's talk about using your caseload to attract the best clinicians. Because that's one of those things where, obviously if you're a PT on a sports team, professional sports team, like a lot of therapists, I won't say everyone, wants to work with professional athletes, wants to work with this. I have kind of a funny story. I did 2 clinical rotations right next to where I lived. I lived in Sarasota. Bradenton is right next door. IMG Academy, Voluntary Academy was right there. We had professional athletes on site. You would literally see a professional athlete on one plinth and then a little geriatric lady from the community on the plinth right next to the professional athlete. We had NBA players, tennis players, multiple golfers. And I remember at that point thinking, I don't ever want to work with professional athletes because they're doing the same thing that the grandma next to them is doing. But to me, it was so much less rewarding. I don't want to kill myself to help you shave 1/10 of a second off of your 40. And I learned that lesson at Penn State also. Like, we were fortunate to work with the Penn State athletes and seeing what they were going through and doing. That being said, though, I know there's huge appeal in that. And we as business owners get so stuck in the mindset of, I need to pay more. I need more continuing ed reimbursement. I need more like this, that, and the other, when really, if you just offer some fulfillment, if you give a therapist that wants to be the best therapist a chance to be the best therapist and not or step out of the environment where they're barely keeping people moving, who have really little to no chance of making sizable gains, I think that's hugely valuable. What are you finding for your particular clientele and the therapists you're trying to attract?
Yeah. So like I just mentioned in the private chat, I guess this morning, one of my therapists yesterday messaged me out of the blue. I had previously asked him probably in the past like 6 to 8 months, I probably messaged him directly and I was like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? He's been seeing like a couple clients of ours at a time, like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 patients total at a time. So very PRN, not much at all. So I obviously documented this on the show back in August or whatever, when I had that therapist that went from full-time to part-time to I can only do Sundays, and I had to pay the whole recruiting fee and it just didn't work out. So I probably messaged this therapist, my current therapist at that time, to try to see like, hey, like, are you interested in a change? Like we're actually hiring a full-time therapist for mostly Manhattan, maybe a little bit of Brooklyn or Queens, but mostly Manhattan. And he wasn't interested at the time, and that's fine. But he just sent me a text yesterday out of the blue, and he was like, "Hey, like, are you still hiring for a full-time physical therapist in Manhattan?" I was like, "Yeah, we are." Even though I just hired someone for last week, I'm like, "Yeah, we're always hiring." Yep, because like I could just, we could just do more paid marketing or whatever, and just try to get someone busy. So I was like, "Yeah, we're definitely hiring. What's going on?" I was like, "Someone you know?" And he's like, "No, myself." He himself. So. And then in that, the reason why we're bringing this up and we're talking about it is then he said, I really like your clientele, and your clientele compared to his other home health. And I'm obviously not going to say the name, but I think it's either Part A, Medicare Part A, or Part B. I can't even recall, but he's doing like traditional home health in the area. And he said, our clients, concierge pain relief's clients, these are his words. Your clients are the only clients and presentations and diagnoses that make me use my brain. And I was like, wow. Now we're talking about attracting therapists, right? So I will put on social media, like, treat 4 to 6 patients a day, make up to $120,000 a year, mentorship, coaching, support included. Now I feel like I need to add that as a line. Like, and maybe we can word it now. Maybe you can help, coach me with that wording. But that's something that like, is not intuitive for a practice owner. Like my clientele, they can be a little demanding, but typically they're like higher IQ, they higher earners, whatever. It's just like a certain subset of like the population. And a lot of my therapists like working with those clients because they're usually motivated. They have goals they want to get back to. It's not that pro athlete, but it's maybe not that. Maybe it's some of that, like you said, that like the geriatric type patient. So any feedback or thoughts as we're kind of, teasing this right now?
Yeah, I think it's huge. Like I go through different phases. So for me, there's a point where back in my career where I wanted to, and I've mentioned this, work with patients who are in that kind of persistent pain cycle. They had tried conventional physical therapy. They weren't getting better. These days you hear me talk about manual therapy in a way, but back then, I mean, that was a huge part of my practice. I could attract people that felt like they weren't getting what they needed at hospital-based outpatient therapy. They had done all the other things. Today, I'm a very different therapist. I don't necessarily want to try to help that population because I don't have whatever I had back then in me, the motivation to do it. And so I've got a gentleman right now on the caseload. He's working on going from marathon running to ultra marathon running. I'm excited to work with him. I'm passionate about work with him. It gets me excited. I am not excited to work with a high school athlete where 20 years ago, I would have jumped at the chance to work with a high school athlete. So we on the therapist side, we're always going to be different. We're always going to have different triggers, different desires. Once we do something for a while, we're going to step out of that space and look to do something else. And I think that's such a huge part of what we can really offer as practice owners, more than compensation, more than benefits, more than some of the other stuff. But then there's going to be the therapist that's like, I don't care about any of it. Just pay me more money. I just want more money, So I think just like nobody walks into a CrossFit gym thinking they're going to get a yoga massage experience, the more we can communicate what we do as a business, the culture of our business, the more we can attract the right kind of candidate. Now, you guys don't do anything with physical therapist assistants, right?
Not yet. I have messaged dozens on LinkedIn when I was doing my manual prospecting. I had some calls, some interviews with PTAs. It was at the point in the last maybe 3 months where I went from used to having, at one point before COVID, I had like 11 different independent contractors, and you could just start with one patient at a time. Now I see the benefit of like proper onboarding, coaching, support, all that. And you just can't do that if someone's treating one patient, right? It just doesn't even make sense. So I told some of those PTAs like, hey, I need 20 hours a week or more. Like that's the commitment. It's not, I know you might see online, I might have said before, one patient at a time. That's old. Now I need 20 hours a week of your time because I'm going to invest my time and effort into you. So yeah, I have considered it. I have interviewed PTAs, just currently not on the team.
What about OTs? I never hear you talking about OTs. What are your thoughts on that?
I had maybe one or two before during COVID. And then the one therapist I mentioned before that was great, a PT that left me and started his own Medicare practice in New York City. That was his girlfriend, now fiance at the time. So obviously she left with him, which is totally fine. We're on great terms. We got to dinner, all that. Like we're totally cool. But so I have had OTs. I've also messaged them on LinkedIn, manual prospecting. So there's less of them, but I probably have messaged and sent the offer to try to manually prospect them on LinkedIn, probably at least dozens in the area. So I'm totally open to it. Yes.
Yeah, I love OTs. We've had some amazing OTs on staff. There's a little bit of a mindset shift, and OT seems like as a profession, I always say like PT as a profession, good or bad, has just spread out across so many different categories. OT has done the same, stepping into mental health, stepping into all of these other areas that I don't even know about. But talking about that, the reason why I bring it up is because I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. So I took my 16-year-old to the doctor for a normal annual physical. He had to get a vaccine and some other stuff. And I'm thinking about it. So we come to the front desk, we check in, they give us a tablet to answer a couple questions. Have you been sick? Blah, blah, blah. Fill it out. Okay. They come, they call us, we go back. Young girl, she looks like she's 12, but I'm sure I'm trying to see her badge and like what the credentials are. I'm curious. She's a medical assistant, super sweet, super nice. She gets him on the scale. She does his blood pressure, body, height and weight. And so I'm like, but the interesting part, so this is where we start to dissect as practice owners. She gets him on the scale. She measures his height. She doesn't tell me anything. She doesn't tell him anything. And I'm like, how tall is he? How much does he weigh? You know, like I know my wife is going to be asking me these questions, so I need to be able to ask her. So what was interesting to me was literally as fast as she got him on the scale and got the height, she goes back to the computer. I asked the question. She goes back. He's still on the scale. She has to go back and look at it again to tell me. And I'm like, if you don't know how tall he is, how are you going to put it into the system? You know, and like, just like with me and knee replacements, patients are so crazy about goniometric measurements. I'm like, they don't matter. These kids, my wife is so crazy about the specifics. How tall are you? Because of course they're tracking growth. So anyway, she goes back, she looks at it. She's like, he's a hair under 5'10" or 5'11", something like that. And we're like, okay. So then we go back into the room and we sit down. She asks him a couple questions. She puts the answers into the system. And then we just sit and wait for the doctor to come in. And I thought about it. I was like, do I really care that I haven't seen the doctor? Do I really care that it was a medical assistant and not a nurse, or a medical assistant and not an MD? I don't really care. And if that lets me get, more efficient healthcare, access to healthcare, more affordable healthcare, I'm fine with that, because those things don't technically matter to me. But I know there are consumers out there who want the doctor to do that. They want the MD to do the body weight, to do it. They want, and I would say the in-between is you can have a medical assistant who simply engages. Oh my gosh, Lucas, you're at 5'10" today. Last time you were here, you were at 5'9.5". That means you grew a half an inch. And just like engage and talk to us. So it's become so robotic that I think they lost some of what they could be delivering. What do you find with your clientele? I'll explain what I do on my practice, because therapists are going to hate it, but it's a great system for me and for my patients. What are you doing?
Well, you're not asking for my thoughts on your story and scenario there, but like we're at the point, and we've talked about it a lot, like, if someone's paying, like if they're paying a concierge membership, or if they're paying more out of pocket or whatever, then you're right. They're going to expect like the nurse that does like, you grew half an inch from last time, you came at this date, now you're here. And then, that type of person can then tell you off the top of their head from measurement to EMR, like they don't have to go recheck the EMR again, right? Because you have to have higher level people if you're charging more, and it's more of an experience. And unfortunately, the other side of the spectrum, like if you're saying it's very robotic, that's what you're seeing, that's what you're perceiving. I've seen that as well. You call it any office in New York, in Jersey, Philly, wherever you call a medical office, they're going to say, hello, and what's your insurance? Not even hello, not what's your name? How are you an existing patient? Let me look up your whatever. No nice, banter or talk, whatever. I think this is my bias coming out, but like what you're describing is that's the difference between like higher volume, possibly lower payment because of the payment components, but higher volume, and you just hire a medical assistant that you're like you said is maybe 18 or 21 or who knows how old or whatever. And who knows, because of the whole scenario of just volume based and setting patients up and taking their vitals and, height, weight, whatever. Those are low value tasks, I guess, because of the fee schedule and whatever. I don't know. So then they just hire any type of medical assistant, and it doesn't matter how much they've been coached, mentored, supported, and trained. They are just kind of thrown into a job and it's not their fault. So it's the practice. And then the practice is going to say, well, it's because of the healthcare reimbursement. We're not going to hire some experienced nurse to just take height and weight and this and that and talk, chummy, and then pay that nurse whatever that nurse wants to be paid. So anyway, all this, but these are the forces that have, I believe, gone into that scenario and that experience of what you just went through.
So we know we're buds with Jerry Durham. We know Jerry is all about, bringing the admin team in, like making this whole experience. On this show, I shared the letter from my allergist who said, we're going to $750 a year fee. Everything's going to be out of pocket. You will give you the documentation to get reimbursement. I think you nailed it. Like, this is the difference. If we make the decision to go down one road versus the other, I think if that young girl who, I'm sure was trained and educated, just put a little more into the engagement, connecting, make me feel like you remember me. When I see my dental hygienist, I just had a cleaning 2 weeks ago. I see him twice a year. I cannot believe he remembers things about my kids that, there's no way. He's got hundreds of people that he's seeing, maybe 1,000. How can he possibly remember that I've got 4 boys and my wife is coming to him and all this other stuff? But that's the little.
There's two ways there on how that's possible.
Tell me.
One, a very rare Rain Man memory, which is very very uncommon, or they're putting that in the EMR to have a trackable profile on you. What do you think?
We put it in the EMR. I look for him to look at the EMR and try to find that information, and I don't see him doing it.
It's in the notes section that the patient can see.
Something's up. So, but the point being, you put that little bit of effort in there. I don't even know what we pay to go for the cleanings. I don't care. I do it as an obligatory. I need to go do this so that I can say that I do cleanings twice a year. I never have dental problems. I'm super lucky with that. But, the experience with the medical doctor, it's also obligatory. Like, my kid's healthy. Everything is great. I do have kind of a funny story, not to disparage the doctor himself. He's a great guy, funny, social. When he comes in, like, we all have a great time together. But listening to him, the doctor doesn't know anything about me being a physical therapist. He's trying to give exercise advice to my son who runs cross country and had some shin splint issues.
He talked about stretching or something, right?
Wow, of course. First thing, you got to stretch and you got to get orthotics, and you should have orthotics in your shoes all the time. I'm like, okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I don't say a single word because
why not say you're
just want to get out of there? Like, I just want to leave. I'm not going to change his religion. I'm not going to change his politics or his views. And like I said, he's a nice guy. He's giving general advice. It would be like me saying, yeah, there's a drug for that. Go research it and find the drug that you should take. And that's basically what he did for exercise prescription. But all of that to say, so I love working with my physical therapist assistant. He is a better person at delivering patient care than I am at this point. And so in my model, I do the things that are required to be done by a physical therapist. He does the things that a physical therapist assistant can do and likely, at least in my case, is better at doing. And so I've never had a patient that's like, I only want to see the physical therapist. And I think that's because he connects with them on an emotional level, on a social level. He can talk sports to the people who want to talk sports. He can talk, crafting to the people who want to talk crafting. He's got that gentle personality, but he also has other aspects to the way he engages with patients. When I hire someone, thankfully, I've always looked for those soft skills over the clinical skills. The clinical skills in my mind are, you said it, table stakes. And they can be trained and improved over time. Yeah, don't make them worse. Don't hurt the person. You do that, and people are going to be happy. Especially if you layer in, you're just a nice person to be around. You smile, you're happy. You're a joy to be with. So for me and my practice, I maintain compliance. But the reality is, I think my role is so insignificant in the patient care journey. I am simply here to maintain compliance. That team out there is the one that really makes the magic happen. And I love it that way, because that's what gives me the freedom to do other things, like be here with you and grow the social media and do all the other things that we share with people that are watching.
Now, you mentioned, because I took that whole detour of like swinging back to your story and all that, but you were asking me about my clientele, and it's not totally right or just or whatever you want to call it, but when people pay, they're either self-selecting or they're a little more involved, or they're a little more motivated and a little more serious or whatever. And I know there's like the haves and the have-nots, and people that have the financial resources, maybe sometimes take them for granted. And then there's, of course, the social safety net, and there's things like Medicaid and other services that are not always great, but it's something, and it's for the people that don't have the financial resources. But again, it's not totally right or just or whatever all the time. But when that therapist sends me a text and says, your patients, your clientele, when I work with you guys compared to this other home health company, like when I work with you guys, I use my brain with your patients, and I use my full skill set. And that's why he's interested in potentially in January, in the new year, potentially coming on board with us full time. And right after this call, you and I have a call with him to have a catch-up call about that whole conversation. And he said, what does full-time look like with you guys? And can you give me more information? Can we catch up for a Zoom call? I'm like, absolutely. So I have that call next. What are your thoughts? Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I was talking last night. So I was teaching my Zero to Medicare course. Tonight we're doing a marketing module. And one of the things that I was talking about was me rolling out these new product-based services. So we've got the SoftWave and the other stuff. One of the original thoughts, and I just watched a hour webinar on another product and how they're trying to market this product to self-pay. And one of the main things that everybody talks about is reactivation campaigns. You talk about it, I talk about it. There's power in that. I don't believe, and I don't really want to even use a reactivation campaign for my patient population to move them into a self-pay world, because the patients that I see, the community that I've brought together, it's not really a self-pay community. It's a community that says, yeah, I'd like to feel better. If insurance is going to pay for it, I'll come and do it. But that's really about the threshold for them. If I'm going to roll out a product that I'm selling for a $500 protocol, that's self-pay on top of maybe insurance reimbursed services. So I'm looking to do $1,000 to $1,200 total, but somebody who's going to sit down and run a credit card for $500 on the first day, it's not my patient population that I've been treating for the last 10 to 20 years. That's not the demographic.
But those people, do you agree or disagree? The people that'll pay $500 out of pocket for whatever SoftWave or some combo or whatever, are they nearby in your area of Ohio?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Everywhere. They're everywhere. There isn't a single community in the United States that doesn't have people that will put that money into something that they believe will be beneficial and helpful. And it's just like, again, if I go out to dinner, there's a time I'm going to pay extra for the good silverware and the white tablecloth and the nice music and, the privacy. The rest of the time, the majority of the time, I'm just going to pay for convenience and for taste and for, stopping the feeling of hunger. So we have individuals that'll do both. And I'm sure within my database of thousands of people, there are going to be people in there that will pay out of pocket. But my ultimate goal for January, and maybe we're moving into this topic now, is not just reactivation of the people that I've already seen. I want to bring a new community into the practice. I want to build a little bit of a different business model. I want to bring people that I haven't had contact with or touch points with before. And I want to bring them in with the expectation that this isn't an insurance covered service. This is something that you're going to pay out of pocket for. And so the messaging, the experience, the design, we're painting the clinic. We're investing in new equipment, new chairs, new design. I had historically always said, look, most of the stuff in my clinic is the cheapest stuff I could possibly find because it's really just to fill space. Now I'm getting the heavy silverware and I'm getting the white tablecloths because I know that I'm looking for a different demographic. You don't walk into a Lexus dealership and it look like the Subaru dealership. They're different communities and that's okay because people are looking for different experiences.
Amen. Okay, so really quick, kind of on this topic, yesterday we had a mother reaching out for her daughter. The mother lives out of state. The daughter lives in New York City because the daughter's 22, even though she's an adult. Mom is helping find a therapist for CRPS, chronic pain, complex regional pain syndrome, history of it. It went away for 4 years. Now all of a sudden it's back. Daughter's here in Manhattan. She found us on Google by, I guess, Googling CRPS treatments or something. And now this is becoming a little bit more of a theme because I've been putting more organic blog posts up on my website where people are either, when they call in, because I can listen to the calls, when they call in, they're either asking for the stim pod or they're talking about one of the diagnoses that one of the blog posts has referenced. And I'm not running any complex regional pain syndrome ads. I'm not running any stim pod ads or anything like that. So they're either mentioning the treatment or the device, and this is relevant to you for SoftWave and all that, or they're saying, myself or my daughter has complex regional pain syndrome or chronic pain or headaches or migraines or whatever. And can you tell me about this stim pod treatment? Right. So that's something that like I've been working on more on the website. Like I think I have now, the last time I checked Google Search Console, I have like over 500 pages on my website that are indexed on Google. And a lot of those are old pages that I had my website developer make where it was like back pain in Midtown East. Like it was like condition and location specific, and each of those had like its own unique page. So that was hundreds of pages. And then now it's blog posts, and I'm trying, not even close as good as the blog posts that you make with like, I'll just throw in like one H1 header and not H2 or 3 or whatever. And I don't do yet all the things you do through like ChatGPT and you like make it like an amazing blog post. So mine are very, very bare bones, but I don't know if you wanted to chat about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically the strategy that I'm using. I was talking to Joey Albert and he was like, hey, when are we going to start running some paid ads? I was like, well, Joey, first, I'm swamped. Like I've got more new evals that I can handle already. I'm never going to have a wait list. So I don't want to go down that road. Just sit tight. I said, my approach right now for January, there's a couple ways that we look at this. So I am primarily insurance based still, but I'm turning that ship toward more cash based. I said, I'm putting out a ton of organic content every single day. It's kind of ridiculous. I've got 3 videos a day. This is what I'm striving for and I'm achieving. Sometimes I have to hold videos back because I get so many. I'm doing 3 videos a day, usually 3 shorts. And then I try to get 1 or 2 long form content pieces out. I'm doing YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Pinterest. And basically what I'm doing is I'm looking at the videos, the messaging, what's resonating. We had a video shoot to 500,000 views on Facebook, my Facebook business page. And so once I see kind of what resonates with the community, it brings attention to that piece of media. It's never the same. Like the one that goes to 500 on Facebook business page barely gets 1,000 views on some other platform. But then on that platform, I get another one with 350,000 views. So
by the way, anyone watching or listening, Tony's talking about Total Therapy Solutions on Facebook. So if you're looking to do any of this, you should go like and follow his page. You can see publicly what he's posting on Total Therapy Solutions, his practice's business page on Facebook. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, which I never invested any time on. Nothing. It was a total fluke. I was putting stuff onto Instagram. It auto posted to the business page and all of a sudden the business page blew up. I started with like 2,000 followers in October. We're at 7,000 followers now. My Instagram's starting to catch fire a little bit. I've got one video that is me. I think it's doing shockwave on a knee. That's gaining some traction. So like you, people are finding that content, then they're coming back to me. It's all organic so that when I do flip the switch and say, okay, let's run a paid ad specific to this proven piece of content, I already know I've got a winner. Where most of the time for me, historically, it's I'm going to try this picture or that video or whatever, and I'm going to put $100 behind it or $1 a day or any of those strategies. And none of it ever did anything for me. Now I've got a 500,000 view video and I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn this into a paid campaign and I'm going to, go into a sales process that will then take that person to a booked appointment or a digital video consult or sell a product. We probably don't have time today, but products is going to be a big thing that I'm moving into for 2025. I lost track of our topic, but creating those videos, putting them out there, kind of sprinkling those seeds in the dirt and see what takes root. And then you double down, triple down on the ones that have proven to be successful.
So what would be the potential offer? Did you say something about $500, out of pocket and the rest through insurance? So like potentially in January, walk me through. I'm one of your past patients, or maybe I'm a new patient. Like, hey, I've driven by your building. I live nearby. I've driven by this building 50,000 times. I didn't know their physical therapy here or whatever. Found you guys on social media somewhere with Shockwave. I have chronic knee pain, whatever. So like, what would be the potential pitch? And I know it's still going to evolve between now and January, but what's the potential pitch? Is it $500? Am I going to be able to come in and get 5 Shockwave treatments, or is it like up to 5? And if I feel great after 3, I'm good. Like, what might that offer be out of pocket?
So this is what I have to do, something that I'm comfortable with. I look at what else is out there. So typically it's $150 per session for Shockwave. And then any physical therapy services are layered on top of that. So there are providers that are charging $200 to $300 a session. I looked at Run DNA, Doug Adams. This is not Shockwave. This is what he does with the gait analysis and his system. He's charging $400 for a 90-minute evaluation that uses the technology that they have for the gait assessment. I like to get a sense for, okay, what's everybody else doing? And then I come back to me and I'm like, well, what do I feel comfortable with? How do I motivate the patient, the consumer, to achieve the outcome? Because that's really what we're doing. Everybody knows exercise more, eat less, improve your lifestyle, be more mindful. None of that stuff is helpful. Our job is, how do I get them to do what they need to do, even though they already know what they need to do? And I'm like, well, I like the pricing model where it's like, just give me a flat dollar amount. Give me $500. That's a nice, round, easy number. It's a comfortable number. Give me $500. Let's do the protocol for $500. I'm not going to get into the number of sessions. I'm not going to get into those other things. I don't want you nitpicking how many sessions we did. I don't want you nitpicking how many minutes we did in each session. None of that stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm choosing the specific conditions that I'm seeing the best results with, and the conditions that I have the audience already primed and ready to go. So total knee replacement, right? I just recorded before we went live today. I heard the ticking. I ran out there, grabbed the follow-up video to a video I recorded Tuesday for the same client, the same patient. I'm showing progression for a total knee replacement. And then trigger finger. I really like this for trigger finger. Trigger finger has been doing really well for me. Patients don't want to have surgery. Patients are looking for solutions. Maybe the injection worked temporarily, but it's not working long term. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a $500 protocol. I'm going to do either a 3-week or a 5-week. I usually do 6, but I don't think I need to go that long. I'm working on the language, because the most important element in this is I want somebody to hear what I say and be like, he's talking about me. He described exactly what I'm dealing with. So we're all familiar with Pezan-Serine bursitis. A lot of patients after knee replacement, they develop this sensitivity in that area. Nobody addresses it. Nobody talks about it. Another common one is the head of the fibula. When I can come online, and my most popular videos are like, look, this head of the fibula is not the knee joint. There's clicking, clunking, there's pain. It's not the knee. Your surgeon looks at the x-ray and the x-ray shows clean, but you still have pain on the outside of the knee. So I get into those conversations. The patient feels like I'm talking to them specifically. They are ready to sign that check for $500. And then if I layer on top of that the insurance covered physical therapy services, I should have a $1,200 to $1,500 plan of care ready to go. The $500 brings my revenue per visit back up. But the most important thing, it's not me. I am not the one doing it. I wasn't the one out there doing the Shockwave treatment. It was my physical therapist assistant, who my patient likes better than me. That patients ask for my physical therapist assistant when they want to come back for therapy for something else.
Right.
that to me is proof that we're doing something right. High, completion of the plans of care, like all of these things. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm looking at for January. I have not done any paid ads because we haven't had to. We've had people calling and requesting to schedule shockwave therapy because they have this condition that they saw a video on. If that slows down, I'll hit the paid ads and put a little gas on the fire.
So the people that are calling in right now because they saw shockwave, are you already charging them out of pocket, or are you just billing it as like a modality, or what?
No. And this is where I think, you don't go to the grocery store when you're starving hungry, because you're going to buy all sorts of crap and you're going to do stuff you would never do. I don't need more patients. I'm booked. I'm full. Like, I'll get more patients on. So yeah, when they call, I'm like, yeah, it's $500. It's a 3-week protocol, a 5-week protocol. It includes physical therapy services. The evaluation is covered by your insurance, but the soft wave treatment is not covered and it's a self-pay rate. We give you a discount because normal sessions are $150 per session. If you look anywhere else, which there's no other providers here, but if they look online, we give you a discount because you're also a physical therapy patient, and that's the way I do it. We've had a handful of people that have come on and done it. I've got a guy right now, separate from what was out there. He was a past patient, had a knee replacement, big tennis player, big pickleball player, developing some patellar tendon pain. Didn't want to do steroids, didn't want to do injections, heading down to Florida in a week. He was like, hey, I want this. $500. We hit it a couple of times. He felt great. I said, look, you have the steroid prescription. Keep it. Take it with you down to Florida. You're feeling great now. If the pain comes back, fill the prescription so you can play. But at least you had this, which should carry you through going down to Florida and playing tennis for the next 2 months. But he did it because he saw my videos and he was like, yeah, that's exactly what I need. And then he came in and got on the schedule.
So you previously mentioned you don't want to hire other physical therapists and you are already full. So I'm trying to read between the lines here. Is it possible that you're not charging enough?
So it depends. If I wanted to make more of my money from patient care, yes. The next step is I would start to move more into that world of exclusivity. There's me here. Across the street is NovaCare. Up the road is the hospital. We're about the only 3 main providers. If I wanted to be the exclusive provider, yes, I would raise my rates. However, I don't want to get into the situation where now I start to attract a community of patients who do expect to see the physical therapist. They do want the heavy silverware and the white tablecloths. Even though the physical therapist assistant is better, I don't want to be selling me. I want to sell the service and the experience. Plus, how big can I ultimately scale? Do I really want to tie myself down to that? I'm happy doing this as a hobby, as a side thing, but I see bigger opportunity in product. I see bigger opportunity on media. That's really where it's a longer lever, less work, more change. That's where I want to spend my time.
And when you say so products would be something online, digital course, physical product, whatever, a link, maybe it's to Joe Lowe and his type stuff, and you drop ship it or he drop ship, whatever you guys do. So right now, like, is that even close to how much you're monetizing, like the patient care side of things?
So right now, and you mentioned it, so I'll throw it out there. Yeah, I'm talking to Joseph. We're looking at, ideas. You and I, we interviewed Dr. E. Urson. Like, he's got products out there. He's got digital courses. He's got physical products. So like when I look across, what are the physical products that I actually use every day? I just uploaded 2 or 3 cupping videos. Now, I don't believe cupping does what most of the, quote, experts believe. But
it feels so good, Tony. It feels so good. It loosens up my shoulder. I don't care what you say.
It feels good. It's a physical product. I can make a case for how it mechanically gives me a handle to grab the skin and lift the skin. How it I showed yesterday, I don't know if anybody saw it, where I flipped the cup over and I used the round side of the cup, not for suction, but for compression. And so I've got these different things that I can do with it. I'm like, I love these little silicone cups. They're like $10, $12. Nobody is selling a cup that has texture around where you would grit. So if we just did a little bit of tweaking to the design, I can get texture on there. I can brand it. I can do it for incisions, for wounds, swelling, lymphatic system, all of these things related to my population of knee replacement. And something like that, on Amazon is scalable to ridiculous numbers, and so that's where you say, okay, what can I grow a practice to? What is my risk? What is my liability? How much effort do I have to put in? Do I bring in other people, hire new therapists? Now I've got their livelihood. You've got a little baby, beautiful baby boy at home. I don't want to be responsible for that. And if I'm the employer and the business owner, I am responsible for your family and your kids to some degree.
But you've been responsible for these team members you've had for years. For how long? You've been in practice for 22 years or something.
Yeah, but it's been getting smaller and smaller. And now I'm only responsible for 3. And even that's too many. So I want to go the direction of, I partner with somebody like Joseph, somebody who has connections. They understand the product side. I get a commission. They handle the logistics. I leverage my community and my name. And we just, go that route. That's where I think I'm going to do most of my work in 2025. The physical products here, awesome. I love it. We talked about hosting live events here, bringing other therapists in to see. If you caught me 15 years ago, I wanted to be the celebrity. I wanted to be the therapist. I wanted people coming because I had something unique to deliver to them. I don't want that today. Today, I want to elevate other people. I want therapists who want to treat. Let me show you how to treat more profitably, and let me just go make my profits in other areas.
Interesting. Well, I hope you can ramp it up. I hope as we go into 2025, I'm going to not grill you, but I'm going to be continually curious on hey, what's this product or digital, income approximately ballpark, and you don't even have to share the actual dollar numbers, but I'm saying whatever your practice makes for, what you guys generate as a total in-person practice, and whatever else you kind of are part of that, SoftWave, all the things you're doing. Then you have the digital thing that you're talking about focusing on, digital courses, products. Patients are buying products and packages that you've never met, and they're out of state or whatever. And yes, it can scale very gigantically, but what relation is that compared to what you're already generating in your practice? Is it 0.5%? Is it 2%? Is it 10%? Whatever. Because if it's that small, then I don't, either you need to focus on it, or I don't know, can it really scale? I'm sure it can scale, but it's just two different routes. And I'd be curious to kind of hear how it evolves in the new year.
So the accountability is always appreciated. And that's, I think, what you're saying. For me, and I publicly disclosed this, was it through 2023? I think I did it. Anyway, I shared numbers publicly. I think at that time it was 130,000 profit that came from non-patient care. So it would have been Amazon affiliate income, influencer income, YouTube income, and digital course income. 130,000, and that
includes Learn Medicare Billing course, right?
Right. That included the Medicare billing.
I'm saying the patient, the consumer side only, not a course to a therapist. I'm saying the treat your own whatever course. You buy this, I'm going to send you the 10s unit course, or whatever. The self-treatment consumer facing component.
So maybe what I'll do in 2025, and this would be good for a lot of reasons, I'll go back to disclosing, and I'll make it specifically, I'll separate it out into money I make from teaching physical therapists how to do things, and money I make from consumer products and stuff that's not patient care. I'll start doing that. I'll share income reports each month through the year of 2025, and we'll take a look. But I will say, for people that are interested, you look at, 95, 97% profit margin on stuff like that relative to 12% profit margin on patient care. It was a major shift in, the actual profit came from digital, online, media, stuff like that. And so my personal goal behind the scenes, I would like to make $500,000 from that aspect of what I'm doing. That to me would be considered success. In a year, 500,000, pretty much net, mostly net. That's what I would like to see happen from something like that. So now you've got a number to hold me accountable to. So do that without still having some involvement in the clinic, because I do think the clinic is the feeder for ideas and information and motivation and all the other stuff that I need.
True. What do you think is the biggest challenge or standing in your way of generating 500K to $1 million in the consumer digital, products, course, like that whole route?
Me. 100% me. I take full accountability for not getting there. Loss of focus, loss of, I still tend to be too driven by personal passion, interest. And as soon as that goes away, everything shuts down. I'm not good with follow-up. I'm not good. I go through these like peaks and valleys where I like super high peak, super motivated, doing all this stuff, putting out tons of content. Almost like a manic episode. I have no diagnosed issue with that, but I'm just comparing it. And then I crash. And then I'm like, I'm sick of it. I don't want to do it. Screw all of you. Like, I'm done. And then I'll go 2 or 3 weeks of like just hardly doing anything. My YouTube channel, I went like 3 months and I didn't post a single video to it because I was done. I was sick of it. So I am the limiting factor. I am the bottleneck. I fully understand that. I need to grow up and take my own accountability and say, dude, just do what you need to do. Do your job. Your job is to put out a video today. Just do your job. You don't have to love everything you do every minute of the day. That's me talking to myself.
It's fascinating stuff. Dr. Bose, Will, go ahead.
Okay, Will said, would be curious what actual outcomes is for folks on the consumer side of the digital products. We've always found we could sell digital products way more than we can get people to consume the material. Yeah, that's the world we live in. Very true. I watch more cooking shows, and I love cooking. I cook every single day, but I watch more people cooking food that I am never going to cook on my own, just for the joy of watching them cook. I think
why is it escapism? Is it fantasy? Why do you entertainment or some combo of all that? Why?
Yeah, both. It's the same reason somebody buys a lottery ticket. The odds of you winning the lottery are infinitely small, yet you get the joy for that moment of like, imagine what I would do if I won the lotto. When I watch somebody cooking something, I'm like, oh man, that would be so amazing. It would smell so good. It would taste so good. But I'm probably never going to do it. But I still get that moment of joy and opioid dopamine release that, it's great. You brought up Bo. Appreciate you two always bringing the goods. My commute is better because of it. Awesome. Thank you, Bo, for watching during the commute. Scott, Will reached out to us. Such a great message, Will. We appreciate that deeply. Dana's here. Dana said, I don't know what FWIW.
For what it's worth.
Oh, okay. I love your framework and perspective. I relate so much to what you're saying, Tony, leaning into what drives you and knowing your strengths. Yeah. Even something like that, knowing your strengths, working on your strengths instead of, manage your deficits, throw gas on the fire regarding your strengths. What do you think of that? How much time and effort do you, Dave, put into trying to improve your weaknesses versus just doubling down on your strengths?
I want to try to just double down on my strengths in general, and my weakness areas, I will try to delegate it or I don't want to say outsource it, but like it's like there's two routes, and the ones that typically seem to have like the most breakout success, whether it's company based or individual entrepreneur, business owner success, it's usually folks that double down on their strengths. They know what their strengths are. And there's always examples of either one, like a 5-tool or a 4-tool baseball player that, the 5 tools like run, hit, power, speed. So like, yes, you want to improve some of the weaknesses, but in general, I definitely want to double down. You have to know yourself. You have to know what works. And then the areas where you're weak, you should potentially consider hiring or delegating or outsourcing some, variation of that.
Will was saying we decided to stop selling courses out of what is in the best interest of someone getting the outcome they wanted. Just something we had to think about. And that's what I was kind of referencing earlier. I said, I have to feel good about what I'm doing, what I'm selling. I think about this a lot when it comes to my Medicare billing course. I don't market it. I don't run paid ads for it. I don't do anything. I solely let the people who basically find my organic content and who say, this guy has a solution to my pain point, they're the ones that buy it. And remarkably, I think since 2019, don't quote me, but I think I've had 3 people that requested a refund because they never did the course. They bought it. They didn't do it. They didn't have time for it. And so I would never want to be in a situation where I sell something that somebody doesn't use, even though people are buying treadmills every single day that they're never walking on. People are buying all of these things. The money they're spending is for the experience of the purchase, not for the actual outcome. And even within our clinic, I share this all the time. Patient comes in, I want to get strong, but I don't want to lift weights. What the heck do you want me to do? Come in and we'll tell jokes. Like, we'll have a good time.
All right.
It's the same exact thing. People are coming here not really for the outcome. They're coming for the experience and hanging out and something to do. But you have to find that balance of what you're comfortable with. Bo said he's adding diagnostic ultrasound. You're in Dave's wheelhouse. What did you do, Dave? I know we're running out of time. We just have a couple minutes. Real quick, diagnostic ultrasound.
Yeah, I do have a call in 2 minutes, but go ahead.
This is the closing thought. What do you do to get the word out about that?
So on our website, have not run Google Ads, but will consider it in the new year. I want to get 1 or 2 of my other therapists trained on it. I don't want to do it. There's a lot of different courses out there on how to, learn how to evaluate and treat or evaluate using diagnostic ultrasound. You just kind of have to get brushed up on your anatomical landmarks through a different lens. The different lens is the diagnostic ultrasound, like what you're viewing, as opposed to like a body diagram, like on a regular chart or whatever. So you have to just get brushed up on that. But huge opportunity. Yes, it's going to have a little bit more risk in terms of patient risk and all that Tony was talking about, but massive upside in my opinion.
Do you charge separate for that, or is that rolled into the cost?
So we just have it included in the evaluation cost, the evaluation rate. In the future, we could sell it separately. I was even thinking yesterday working out, I thought, should I reach out to my colleagues that have practices? And like, that's like a Tony Maritato thought, like, should we contract with these other practices, maybe charge the patient $400 or $500? Maybe we pay the practice or the company. I don't know. There could be something, but then it's an outside therapist evaluating, and I don't know if they're going to like that, but it's a thought. But no, we just have it rolled into the cost of the regular visit, the regular evaluation, because it's only going to be about 5 or 10 minutes total anyway.
All right, guys, no parting shots today. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here. Follow us, subscribe to the channel, go find the Dave Kittle Show. Dave, I'll catch up with you later.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE at CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646 781-8884.